Alright. Well, good evening, everyone. We will call to order the October 15th regulars board meeting. If everyone would please rise and join us for the pledge of allegiance, which our flag is now located on the center over here. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of the regular meeting agenda, which is an action item. Sorry, before that, I do want to call out that Director Gotts is excused, and we do have Director Kruger online for this evening's meeting. With that, we have the approval of the regular meeting agenda as an action item.
I'll make a motion to approve the regular board meeting agenda.
I second. Any additional comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nay. Motion is unanimously passed. Thank you. And the next item is recognition of guests. Request to be heard in public comment. We appreciate community members' willingness to share public comments with the board. The board recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of involving members of the public in its meetings. In order to permit fair and orderly expression of such comment, the board will provide a period at the beginning of the meeting during which visitors present to the board. The time allowed is 3 minutes. The board respectfully asks that comments be relevant, appropriate, and not be personally directed. Do we have anyone sign up to provide in-person public comment? To limit disruption and aid in timely public comment portion of the meeting, we require virtual attendees who wish to make a public comment to pre-register online prior to the board meeting. Complete the online form found on the board page of the district's website by 3 p.m. on the meeting date. Has anyone signed up to provide virtual public comment? Okay, thank you. I do also want to call out that this meeting is being recorded and will be available on the district website for viewing through board docs. If you go to the school district website, school board webpage. And next item is peak performer Sylvia Toro, presented by Amanda Cottage and Sarah Wallace.
Ready? Thank you for having us here today. Sarah couldn't join us, but this really was an administrative team decision at the middle school. I walked over to them, I don't remember, a couple weeks ago, and I said, what do you think if I nominate Sylvia for peak performer? And they're like, duh, of course, that's a great idea. And I was like, okay, let's do it. So Sylvia has been a part of the kitchen at Lakewood Middle School since September of 21. As I told her, I don't remember before COVID, so she could tell me she's been there for a while. But every day that Sylvia comes in, she greets our students and she has a smile and a kind face for everybody. Don't laugh, it's true. It's very true. So I just want to read what I said. So Sylvia's one of the cashiers at our lunchroom at LMS. And then the years I've known Sylvia, she's shown nothing but kindness and welcoming to each and every student who comes through her line. This year, we changed the numbers that the student used at the point of sale, 4 numbers to 8 numbers. It's a big change. That's more to remember. With that change, I tried to stay close to the cashiers and kind of help in case we need to look up numbers, especially for 6th graders at the beginning. While I was there, I had the honor of watching all 3 lunches, her talk and interact with each of our students. She greets them by name. She greets them with kindness and a smile and kind words. The 6th graders who are nervous, she calms them and they practice again and they learn it again. She works to learn their names quickly, greets them by names. Our students appreciate their kindness and kind words, and they then return the kind words back to her as well. A middle school lunchroom where over 660 students come to eat every day can be a chaotic place. We never know that from looking at Sylvia. She treats our students with care and a smile, no matter what the day is. And I was telling her, we have a little line around the fresh foods, and I was trying to even it out, and 2 of the 6th grade boys go, no, I have to go in this line because Sylvia's my friend. And I was like, okay, you stay in this line and we'll move some others around. But I'm gonna let Jim talk also.
There's not a whole lot left to
Okay,
say.
sorry.
But I also had to do cashier in the morning, my first year there. And it is a fascinating experience to do that, but it is great when you get to learn those kids and you see them every single day. And I am always impressed with how well you treat our kids every day. no matter what is going on. Sometimes our lunchroom is a little noisy and chaotic. And Sylvia is exactly the same, even, wonderful, kind person throughout. So I appreciate what you do every day.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this so much. It's quite an honor. And, you know, I did 17 years at Seattle School District. It was John Stanford International School, but Lakewood Middle School, there's something very special about that place. And middle school kids are just a hoot. And I just enjoy it, you know. And I'm from a big family. I got 7 brothers and sisters, so we always had kids. I've always gotten along with kids, and it's just easy. I'm a grandma. I'm in grandma mode all the time. That's part of it. But my prayer is every day when I leave to make a difference in a kid's life. And it's, you know, it's wonderful. You do, yeah, we do. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Sylvia, thank you. You may or may not know, I spent many years at the middle school, and so the fact that you love being in the middle school cafeteria is just like sings music to my heart. And you really are, is that warm and welcoming face and someone who cares about kids, and those relationships make a huge difference. You know, so thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
This is for you, and so it's a pin for you and then a certificate. And we'd love to each shake your hand and then take a picture with you, if that's okay. Okay.
Wonderful, yes.
These kids will get to.
Nice to meet you.
Well, thank you for all that you do and the impact you're making with our students.
I'm honored. Thank you.
Congratulations.
We'll have you figure it be, all right, and then take pictures. Okay, I'm gonna. Wes?
Wes,
Oh, wow. No hiding.
Did I turn this around?
That's perfect.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. It's my privilege. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wes, thank you. Thanks for all your
Thank
support.
you. Amanda said it best. She said she had one time to me, she'd take 1,000,000 of you. I would too.
Thank you.
Oh, you got it.
Okay. And with that, the next item we have on the agenda is our consent agenda.
It was nice to meet you.
The board approves the use of consent agenda for those items that are considered to be routine in nature. All items will be provided to the board of directors for review in advance, and any item could be removed at a board member's request. With that, this is an action item. I motion for the approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Any additional comments? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion is unanimously. Thank you. And we'll move into our administrative report, starting with the finance report with James Peckham.
Good evening. I have the September financials, October enrollment report to present today. Let's just dive right into it. So for general fund, revenue of about 3.8 million, expenditures of about 4.75 million, for an ending fund balance of about 7.5 million. Capital projects revenue of about $121,654. Expenditures of $261,802. For an ending fund balance of $3,953,646. Debt service revenue of about 84,000, no expenditures, for an ending fund balance of about 1.9 million. ASB revenue of 24,690, expenditures of 36,482, for an ending fund balance of 332,231. Transportation revenue of 3,200, expenditure of 0, for an ending fund balance of $1,002,190. Historical budget to action. So we're in the new year, so it's fresh. So we only have dots on the screen. We don't have any lines yet. So that's fine. We also only have one thing to look at, so I don't have to highlight anything. I don't think we know where we're at. However, what you can see is you see a lot of 7s across the bottom. So we are very consistent on revenue in September because we're at 7% once again. We were at 7% last year and the year prior. What does that mean in dollar amounts? The dollar amount was $3,725,747, as mentioned in the last slide, which puts us at about $70,000 more than anticipated at this point. And I think part of this is just some of the grants and other things that we are receiving a little bit sooner than in past practice. I think as we continue to establish practices and procedures, we're getting money in a timely manner, and so we're able to get that, see some of those revenues a little bit sooner in the year. So that's some of the tail off items. And then for expenditures, again, only one line, but you will notice it is higher up. This again, based on how much we budgeted for expenditures though, you'll notice 99999. So we are right on pace with where we were the last 2 years as well for our spending habits in the month of September, even though it is, if you look at the last 2 years, historically, one of the highest, if not the highest spending month of the year.
And does this also account for in this month of September, some of the, I think some of the computers that we are anticipating getting in, are those still pending out there?
That is still pending out there.
Okay.
I think with invoices and, I have not seen us pay via check yet for it, so it'll probably show up in November based on what I have seen, but I could confirm on that as well.
Okay.
No, the big one obviously is our insurance went
Right.
up and. What does this mean from a dollar standpoint? This is really close. We're only off $30,000 from what we anticipated from budget to budget, year to year. And so just as a reminder, as we start fresh in the school year, our year-to-date differences and those percentages of where we plan to be is based on the prior 2 years. So how much have we spent at this point in the prior 2 years? How much revenue have we brought in at this point in the prior 2 years? We are only about $30,000 off from the difference of the percentage from the prior year to this year. So very, very close. We are very good at spending the same amount every month itself. Fund balance amount, you'll notice that there's one dot right in between the two. We anticipated we'd actually have been below that purple dot going into this year. However, with timing with some of those things such as the computers and then other items that's already been discussed, we actually did start the school year a little bit above what was anticipated dollar amount wise. So last year we started at 6.6 million, and this year we're at that 7.5 million. However, you'll notice from a fund balance percentage, it is a lot closer to the purple than the green on the bottom versus the top, where we're a lot closer to the green than the purple. Again, this is because our expenditures are more, and so the calculation shows more money spent, dollar amount. So that's why. And then on to enrollment. So the good news and not anticipated news, I know that we've had some conversation about this as well, and kind of, well, we started before Labor Day, so we weren't anticipating this big increase in some of those components. And I think further conversation with Amanda, who Ms. Cote, who left and whatnot, but some of those students that we weren't able to count that first month, that then we were able to count that second. Either the registration packets weren't in, or they didn't attend during these days, or some of those items was a part of why there was an influx going up, or at least those are some of the items that were discussed as part of that increase. However, what we do know is we do max out in October and November, and then we'll be going downhill. And I was able to provide the demographer with our most recent October numbers as well that you're looking at. So hopefully next month, when the report is provided to you, it'll be the most accurate and up-to-date information that we have. From enrollment, the AAFTE is based on basic education, so we are actually up on the basic education one. I did notice today when I was reviewing this, that the special education number, I did not put in for October. Two things. One, September number was actually revised, so it is 478 moving forward, for both September and October, so it was a flat one. So I know it's not showing up there, but I'm saying that, and you will see that correction on next month. For career technical, we did go up a little bit. This was predominantly at the high school, but there was a little increase at the middle school as well. And then we did start running start, so you'll notice the one dot on there. I did have to update my graph because historically we hadn't gone past 40, and we are starting the school year at 45. Any questions?
Any questions?
Okay.
All right, next item is the student advisory report.
Yeah, so, at the middle school, last Friday, their leadership students went to Timbercrest Middle School for fall leadership days. And had a great time collaborating with other students. And they are starting a new format for students of the month for like the recognition. And their leadership students are visiting sixth grade classes this Thursday. Those students can be recognized from other peers instead of like at the lunch stuff. And then this month's characteristic is prepared, and other than that, they're wrapping up the first season sports and getting ready for the second season, as well as getting ready for conferences. And then at Cooler Creek, they're starting writing training with Lucia. Writing coach Lucia was on our campus Wednesday working with creative teams focusing on unit to study writing curriculum. And then they had their recognition assembly, which they hosted their very first recognition assembly last Friday. Students and classrooms are celebrated for both academic success and citizenship. And there's also a spirit competition, and this competition was toilet paper monthlies. And many families attended that event. And then their ASB fundraiser is halfway through. Their goal is to raise $32,000, which will go towards the trips. And then the Veterans Day Assembly, music teacher Kim Lawson and their third to fifth grade students are working hard in preparation for their Veterans Day Assembly next month. And then students and teachers have been practicing drop, cover, and hold in preparation for tomorrow's great earthquake shakeout. And then high school soccer senior night is tomorrow, so I'm very excited and sad for that. At ECE, their PTA hosted a Color Blast Fun Run. That was last Friday, and they raised over $16,000. They have 12 students that are going to be represented in Cougar Captain as well. They have had 10 classes out of 18 who have celebrated 5 days of perfect attendance with an all-in celebration, and 4 of those 10 classes have already celebrated 10 days of perfect. And then at LES, they have successfully screened their student vision and hearing with the help of their local Lions Club. Teachers learned about regional gangs and gang preventions from their colleagues at NWESD. And they also hosted their first pause assembly. Students have been showing kindness and positivity around campus by filling each other's buckets with positive actions and words. And as a result of their commitments and actions, they've earned their first popcorn party at recess. And their PTA also hosted a McDonald's night for families and students. And then volleyball senior night is the 25th. The 30th is footballs, and then we have our first career cabinet on the 22nd.
Yeah, thank you. Continuing lots of activity into the start of October.
Yes.
Superintendent report, Dr. Murphy.
All right, so good evening. Lots of pictures. It's amazing, even though it was only a couple weeks between our board meetings, just capturing all the things that have been happening. So I wanted to highlight the first pictures you see. So you see a lot of football, kind of on this first football and cheering, these first slides. We had our homecoming football game. So while the score was not maybe what we would have hoped, but the sportsmanship, the spirit, and I say the excitement, and just honestly the pride that is what I think what makes Lakewood so special. And so it was a great night. It was a great night. It wasn't, I think there were things that I'm sure the football team would have wanted to go a different way, but it was still a wonderful, I think is a wonderful celebration and highlighted what makes Lakewood so special. So definitely wanted to capture that, and also want to capture our royalty. Right here. And so again, I think what's really special about some of the changes to how kind of that recognition is really that service orientation. It's about leadership. It's about kind of like who you are, how you carry yourself, and how you support others. And while you may or may not know, we actually had a high school from Edmonds come up and actually come to our assembly on the Monday as they were kicking this off, because they're looking to change and have it be a more who you are as a leader and how you give back to the community to change that process of their school. And they had heard through ASB and Interhighs about the work happening here, and so they came up to watch that in action. So it's a huge testament to, I think, the work happening at our high school and also within our ASB. Ruby was joined Representative Carolyn Eslake for our 5th and our last scheduled legislative visit that we've had so far this fall. And did a fantastic job of leading around, not only represent Estlake, but also her husband. And who joined in, so it was a great visit, and I think a lot of good questions. In addition, and I share this just because I think it's a great opportunity for all, Representative Estlake was key to remind that there are opportunities for our students to serve as legislative pages. And so really encouraging our students to reach out, so I'm hoping that Ruby does look into that and say, yeah, it's a great opportunity, so. So I think that was a lot of fun. And then last Thursday night, we had a fantastic game that was, wow, that was a game. That was really fun to watch. If you were at the game, it was back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It was something else. I have to say, like, I'm not as, photographically kind of like I'm skilled as Christina is in capturing. But I did happen to capture the coach and the players jumping in the air and like kind of doing like that shoulder check high five, which I felt pretty good about. So, and I shared that with our admin team. So it was a great game. It was a lot of fun to be there. Tons of spirit, and yeah, it was a really great outing. On the next page, you'll see. Again, Lakewood Middle School did something a little bit different. They wanted to, and their staff decided this last year, and I think Amanda had shared this earlier. They wanted to make sure that, they thought, what can we do to really bring families out? And they knew if they provided an opportunity for there to be like a community meal, it was great. I definitely know in the time I was there's easily 200 to 300 people who were kind of hanging out and connecting with one another prior to the event starting. So there were people in the cafeteria outside. It was a great night, so it was warm and it wasn't raining, and all the things that make it easier for people to hang out and they connect with each other. And that second picture, I want to show Ryan Brown brought his kind of griddle down to help cook the hot dogs, but you also see the members from JRS Electric, Sean Renfro and Zach Johnson, who are Lakewood graduates. And so it was really fun. So they actually were the ones cooking the food, and they were just, and kind of reminiscing about their time going to Lakewood, which was really special. They're co-owners of that business. And then we had members of our Lakewood Middle School parent group who were serving the food to families and staff as they came through. On that far side, I think just catching students in action, I was, every week I have a distinct pleasure of going to visit our schools and kind of visit classrooms. And I was walking over to meet Principal Kristen Cortez, and and usually as I go over, sometimes I move my time a little bit, and I happened to be at the end of lunches, and I ran into our LES student, Rhea Warwick. And Rhea had, I guess, consistently likes to give up some of her lunches if she notices that maybe our custodian could use some extra help, which likes to just help sweep and clean up. That way it's ready to go for PE class. And so this was something that was not a one-time thing, because other teachers walked in and were like, Ray, I think you've been helping again. So she was gracious, and I asked if I could take a picture, and she said absolutely. And so when I asked her, I said, tell me about this. And she goes, it's like helping and being a leader in my school. And so it was really sweet, and it's a great way to celebrate her. You heard a little bit about the color run. It was amazing. It was very cool. I saw Leah there. Her children were trying to give some colorful hugs, but we was wearing a light colored sweater. Please don't. So it was fun. Renee and I went over to take that. It's a really great activity. And then this past Saturday, we had a hole in the wall, and so definitely wanted to call out many staff members give so much time, and our students. It's a real big community event. I know Jay spent the day doing giving the little timing chips to students, and doing that on their shoes, and just real huge call out to Coach Prager, Sauer, and Rooney, who lead this event and have for many years. And it's like clockwork when you're there. It's very impressive. It was not quite the weather we would have hoped for, but it was, I think for cross country, it was great running weather. So that was good. That was a good one. It's a busy end of the month, as we know. So we are kind of wrapping up our fall sports. We have next week, we have a joint board meeting with Arlington on Wednesday. We also have a study session directly following, should be only about half an hour. That Thursday, we have the WASA Snow Isle Legislative Forum in Everett for the board to attend on the 25th. So Saturday, it is our PTAs are again doing Halloween hijinks, which is going to be here on the high school campus. That's exciting. That will lead us into conference week. And then we have, I think our final LHS football game at home. So tomorrow, as you heard, is October 16th, so 10:16 at 10:16 a.m. across the state of Washington. We will be covering in whole and in preparation for our earthquake, really our drill. And I think, you know, we live in an earthquake country, and it's always a good time to talk about that with your families too. Make sure you have everything set up for what are the plans for family members, pets, and maybe some other, there's older, you know, other family members to care for. It is National School Lunch Week as well, so an opportunity to recognize the great work such as Sylvia and Wes that happens every single day in our schools to make sure that our kids have the nutrition they need. On the 22nd, Unity Day, that's again in recognition of anti-bullying, so a lot of times people wear orange in honor of that. And then we have National School Bus Safety Week next week as well, and then we have Halloween. So key observances this month are it's National Principals Month and Physical Therapy Month, Disability History and Learning Disabilities Awareness Month, Bullying Prevention, Filipino American History Month, and then we're the second half of the Hispanic Heritage Month. Thank you.
And now we'll move into new business. First item on the agenda for that is the updated CTE four-year plan and approval. Okay.
Good evening. For your approval is an updated CTE for your plan. The plan now extends through the 27-28 school year, because that's school years are out. It has been approved by OSPI and was included in the end of the year report. It reflects Lakewood's ongoing commitment to providing high quality, equitable career and technical CTE opportunities for all students. Revisions to the CTE plan are made as input is received throughout the year from our advisory committees, which includes industry partners and staff representatives. Continuously look ahead and adapt to local needs to ensure our programs remain relevant. Any questions from you?
Any questions regarding the CTE plan? And do you have any questions? Can't see if she's planning. Okay. All right. Okay, with that, this one is an action item.
I make a motion to approve the updated, four-year CTE plan.
I'll second. Any additional comments? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion is unanimously. Thank you. This item for administrative reports is, I'm sorry, for new business is the 2024-25 Lakewood Academic Data Review.
Hello, thanks for the opportunity to share, I consider some really exciting, student performance, data from 24-25 school year. In context with, some previous school years as well, represent this data to you through two assessments, that we use multiple assessments, but these are the two most, highest quality assessments that we have to share this data, which is our STAR data and our SBA. Thanks, Renee. So our STAR assessment is in math and reading, and we give that 3 times per year, fall, winter, spring. It's important to note that it is skill-based and norm referenced, which is different than the SBA, and so what it represents is how our students are doing in comparison to other students at the same grade level with the same same level of instruction. And then the scores that I'm sharing are represented grade equivalent, so that'll measure where a student would be within that grade level. And when we get to some of the graphs, I'll give you an example of that looks like. I also want to say we use the STAR in 2 ways. One as a screener, one to just understand where our students are and make some decisions if we need to go finding out what their needs are. We also use it as a benchmark to see where students are throughout the year in comparison to what we hope they are, and then we make some decisions about how to support those students if they're not, or celebrate when they are. The SBA is in math and ELA, so a little bit different here. ELA is reading and writing. There's not a star that measures writing. We give that in the spring. It's standards based, so it's every student against the standard. It's not normed against other students, just how many student, how high can you score in comparison to what that standard is? The scores that I'll be sharing today represent percentage of students at a level. And there's the 4 levels. Level 1 is below grade level knowledge. Level 2 or above is foundational grade level knowledge. Level 3 or above is consistent grade level knowledge. Level 4 is advanced grade level knowledge. So that's the second year, we're using this scale. It's always been level 1, 2, and 3 and 4, but this is a more developed scale that shows that students that are at level 2 or above have those skills that we're expecting them to have. However, if they're at a level 3 or 4, they would be able to be on track for a college level course without having to take remedial classes, which is super important. As we know that can be a barrier to our students when they go off to their first year of college. I didn't share science today, and it's still not a graduation requirement, and also only given in the 5th and 8th and 11th grade. And I can definitely share that with others. So we'll get into each building. Hopefully you'll be able to see those scores there. So this is Cougar Creek reading for star, and each one you'll see is in comparison to the previous year. So blue is spring 2025, green is spring 2024. So I'll explain the grade level equivalent here. If you were to look at grade 4, you would expect that in the spring, at the end of their 4th grade year, they would score at a 4 or above. So that's what we're looking for, is a 4 or above at the end of 4th grade year. In this case, last year, CCE increased from the year before, which are scoring well below grade level to above grade level now in the 4th. And then math. So we see a similar pattern here with math. Again, growth each over last year for each grade level. Kindergarten is not represented because we don't assess students in kindergarten. In math, it is part of the early literacy which we give them, and that was represented in the last slide. And it's a combined score of reading and math. I think the reason why it's done that way is students are still learning at that point how to read questions, and so to have 2 tests, it doesn't seem to be necessary, and that's necessary. So you see the same as we go through all the schools. Okay, so this slide shows ELA, SBA, and the first time they'll all have a similar legend to it or graph on each side, and I'll explain that for you. The each bar represents a year going back to 2022, 23, all the way up to last year. The green is level 1, whatever that color is level 2, the lighter blue is level 3, and darker blue is level 4. As I said before, what we're looking for is for students to be at a level 2 or above, and then always hoping that we can get to a level 3 or 4. So that's represented on the right-hand side is level 2, 3, and 4 here, and then level 3 and 4 there. And so, as you can see here for Cougar Creek, if you start with the level 3s and 4s, very similar. From last year to the year before, a little bit lower than the previous year. But what you'll also notice here is that there's been a significant increase in their level 2, 3, and 4 over the last year by about 7.5%. Any questions about that? There's a lot there.
The NA at the bottom are
Yeah.
the students that didn't complete or take the test?
Correct,
That-
it's usually. More that they'll complete, or like kids will start, they'll be absent, they won't be able to make up, and we are on time frame, and yes. So, across the elementaries, it averages to be about 3 to 5% of students that do not get a score. And that seems pretty consistent. You'll see when we get to the high school, there was a big difference this year, and or last year, number of kids. Thanks for asking that.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
Also, is there at a point, if there was a certain, like a high percentage or that they would say, wait, stop, you guys need to let them to try again or have more time or is it just, it is what it is?
It is what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's even some rules around timing out from when you started to when you need to finish. So even if you started in, let's say, April, you have a certain number of days to finish it before it's over, before you don't have a choice anymore. Versus the end of the school year. So you can't just go on for, and attendance is always the issue that.
Yeah.
I guess, at least that's been my experience in going. I also want to share on that, that's not here, I'll share a couple of extra details that I didn't put on there just for simplicity. That in CCELA, that Hispanic and 2 or more races scored better than average. In ELA, and as it have improved over the last 2 years. So math, again, we'll see, same type of graph. Here, though, you're seeing an increase at Coon Creek in level 3 and 4, a nice increase in level 3 or 4 from last year to this year, and actually over the 3 years, which is, you know, we're really hoping to see those kind of results. And then same thing for level 2 and above. And something also I wanted to highlight is that students with disabilities, and this is not just true of Coon Creek, but true of all of our elementaries, are scoring about half the same percentage of students without disabilities. So for example, if 68.7 of CCE students are scoring level 2 or above on the Math SBA, about half of those, so well, I should have thought of that, 33% of them generally are doing this. So that's a very big difference between students with disabilities, students without disabilities. Positive to add to that is that over the last 3 years, though, at CCE and math, those students have increased and by significant amounts. And I'm just gonna throw out some basic numbers, 20 to 24 to I think 30 in this example. So showing growth in all areas or all populations. However, there's still a discrepancy. Those students and the average student. Okay, so we'll transition to ECE. So again, we're seeing very similar from what you saw at CCE growth each year. And this is not cohort data, this is overall, so this is comparing this year's grade 1 to last year's grade 1, or last year's grade 1 to the year before, the same 5th grade. Huge jump there in 4th and 5th grade around reading. The STAR is computer adaptive, unlike the SBA, so there's the SBA has a computer adaptive part, it's in 2 parts. But all of STAR is computer adaptive, so most kids can finish in about 15 to 20 minutes, which makes it so useful for us because it's a good way to get good assessment on students. Some students will take longer than that. And generally, we try to assess without accommodations when we can. But if a student does need accommodations, we apply those. It's not norm reference when we put in the accommodations for students, and that's why we try to avoid that. It's not a high stakes test. We're not making any decisions about a student's future or progress. It just gives us an idea of where they sit at a snapshot.
Oh, can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
So this is not cohort data, so like when we look at it, grade 2 from spring of 2024, those were then our spring of 2025 grade 3, is that correct? So
Correct.
we saw a big
Yes.
jump from reading at a 1.8 to a 3.4 in a year.
Yes.
So some of the curriculums that we've talked about in the past were,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that I've shown cohort data with you in the past, and I think that that's a good thing too. I think this year I want to represent where we were as a group and I think it's also cohort data is great when we're looking at ourselves. I think it's also really important for us to look at ourselves in comparison to up to others. So, because we've been showing growth for a number of years. This year, I think we're starting to show growth in terms of relationship to other students. So. And this is nationally normed, so this would be in relationship to all students that would start in the country. Okay, then again, we'll see similar growth with the math at ECE. And actually, can you go back one slide and mention something? So kindergarten, you'll see 0.5, 0.7. So it is below grade, below what we would be hoping for. We want that to be higher than that at that time. However, that does have math involved in it, and our focus is on students. Seems like they've been catching it. You can go to the next one. So this will show the ECELA SBA data. Steady on level 3 and 4 for ELA. And then this last year, just a very significant decrease in number of students at level 1 at listening. So most, assuming most of them will dump into level 2. ECE, we have lower math from last year and the year prior in levels 3 and 4, and relatively stable level 2, 3, and 4 for math over the last 3 years. So this is LES. So you see grade star data for LES. Showing growth from last year to this year, but important to point out that for grade level 4 and 5, still below where we would expect them, where we want them to be at the end of those grade levels. And then math, same pattern as previously, again, 1 year after another, showing growth. Again, still like to see those scores get to grade level or above. There is a missing bar and I contacted customer support. We haven't figured out why there's no data. They forget, which just glitch that we can't get. So if I can get that data, I can share it.
So it's not our PowerPoint glitch, it's
No,
what
no,
we're getting,
no.
it's from the date, we do not have the number yet.
It's Renaissance, they weren't interested in helping with it on that day. All right, so LES, ELA SBA data, again, kind of pointing out that previously, we're seeing growth there. We're seeing really nice growth here at LES and in ELA, significant growth from 2 years ago to last year in levels 3 and 4, 5.8%. That's a huge jump for any school. To do going from 23.8 to 29.6, and then again, on top of that is also the number of level 2, 3, and 4 at 8.3% jump in ELA scores. Just really positive data throughout, and then really positive data on this as well. Again, for math, another increase in both level 3 4s and level 2 3 4s, although not quite as drastic as definitely as the ELA, but still showing nice growth there. You do see a little bump there on the bottom there, the gray where we did have a number of students that was higher than expected that did not finish that. When I inquired about it, it's same as just attendance, it's to be in school. Having the time to be able to test them and out, so continue to try to work on that. At LES, Hispanic and two more races are scoring lower than average, in both ELA and math, so we're going to work on that. So as we get to the secondary, the STAR, the reading is still skill-based, but more comprehensive. So, for example, at the second grade, maybe we're working on, word recognition. When we get to middle school, obviously, we're talking about knowledge, word knowledge, reading comprehension, understanding different types of text. Those are the skills that the students are trying to demonstrate on the start middle school for reading. At the over grade level, at grade level, above grade level is where we're at. And then math, significant increases again from the previous year. LMS, ELA, SBA, so here we're seeing moderate growth for levels 2, 3, and 4, but consistent over the last 3 years, as well as for level 3. And then math, again, very consistent, but significant growth for the number of students over the last 3 years that are levels 3 and 4. This is where you'll start seeing it on grade bar where we get more students that are not finishing and not assessment.
Is that due to just attendance in general that we're seeing less attendance, do you know, at middle school? Or is it that because it's only offered a certain period and students may not be present during that period for appointments or other?
I would say mostly attendance. I mean, my conversations with Amanda is they're doing everything they can when kids are in school to pick them up and do the testing. Yeah, so generally what will happen is you'll have 2 or 3 days, so everyone's testing, and then after that, it's like every single day it shows up, you try grabbing, getting into the testing.
Do you know if any of the not completing the tests are kids that are actually there every day though, and it's just too hard? Or
I don't know the answer for these kids. I can just speak from my experience that there are a very small number of students who were just just grind and perseverate and not move forward. Yeah, and there are times, and even after speaking with a parent, that just move on. We're not here to test kids for 30 days.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're very small.
Okay.
I think the bigger concern is the students who want to rush through it, to get onto a preferred activity. But they wouldn't show up in the gray.
Yeah.
Hopefully they show up in red, in the level 3 or 4. Okay, so we'll move to the high school. Here we see our reading star scores, some moderate growth between year after year. As I commented before on a different slide, not where we want to be, even though we are growing, we still have some way to go. For example, if you're looking at grade 11, we definitely want that score to be 11. And then this one, so nice growth in grade 9, not really sure about grade 10 and 11. The grade 10 and 11 was not given, STAR math was not given in the spring. The expectation is that it will be given that this year in the spring. So I don't have great data for that. And then the SBA. slight drops in level 3 and 4 for ELA at the high school. Pretty steady for level 2, 3, and 4. And interesting enough, there's not enough data to compare two more races or students with disabilities, to the larger, to the average group, and, trying to figure out what that's about, so we're just not getting reports from the state on that. And usually that means that the number of students that are in that demographic, there's not enough of them that tested to do that, meaning there's only 8 in a particular grade level class, because remember, for the ELA, SBA, that's only 10th grade. Whereas for elementary, it's 3 through 5, and middle school's 6th grade, so it's just one grade level. And so there may not be enough. It may be there may be enough, but not all completed. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on with that, because it would be really good to know. How those other populations are doing in comparison to the average, particularly when we get to high school, when this can be a pathway towards graduation. However, I was able to determine that Hispanic students are on the ELA or below average among their students.
This, you said, is 10th grade only for the SBA at high school level.
For the, yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this is all 10th grade. I think a few years ago we had, but that's dropped off now, where there's a grade that was,
Oh, right, when after COVID,
yes.
wow, you're really going back.
Yeah, like that's all off of this, right? Cause that was, cause I see 22, 23 is on here, so that was 21,
Yeah.
22 that occurred,
Yeah, they
right?
got double hit that year. They were, yeah, the 9th grade was actually the 8th grade score, and then the 10th
Yeah.
grade, yeah,
So
the kids were
this is
testing
all-
all the time. Yep, yeah,
All
this is
different,
just it.
okay.
Yeah. And so can you go back one slide? Sorry. Oh, no, that's fine. I thought you were on math. So you'll see the gray got smaller here by a significant amount. I think I mentioned last year that we're gonna really focus on making sure that all our students were. It wasn't an elective choice to take it. That definitely did decrease quite a bit. Fortunately, if you look at the top 3 bar, the top 3 of the stacks, those didn't really change. It looks like we transitioned many of those students that weren't taking it into a level 2. We were hoping that we transition them into a level 3 or 4. I'm sorry, level 1. We're hoping we transition to 2, 3, or 4. That's something to know. And then math, significant drop in math in level 3 and 4 last year. And over the last 3 years as well. And moderate increase in level 2, 3, and 4. And then again, looking into the data to find out any disparities between specific demographics. Another could not get special ed or 2 more races, but again, Hispanic and this time is significantly lower than average in math right now with this loss.
Just curious, when we look at
Yeah.
this math and seeing how it kind of has gone down, and are there different electives that students are beginning to take their freshman year versus sophomore year that might be impacting these scores? Is it the type of math that's being taught? Like, are there math credits that are being taken that don't prepare them with the skills to continue that? I know we're talking kind of credits at a study session coming soon.
No,
but just curious as to,
I mean, I think it's a fair question, and I anticipated the question, and I think that, one of the reasons why we're seeing such strong growth in the elementary and the middle school is that systemic approach to supporting students and monitoring their progress. As you saw, we did not monitor high school math last year. And so I think that kind of points a little bit towards my answer, which is, I think that a better knowledge of where students are at several points throughout the year would benefit our students in math at the high school. We've been using the same curriculum these last 3 years, so no change in the curriculum. So I really think it's that articulated systemic approach that we're working on developing. So,
What classes do we offer that aren't a math class that you get math credit for? Is that what you're kind of asking?
Right, yeah.
I'm sorry,
like,
did
are
I
there-
miss the question?
No, you
No,
don't.
I had multiple questions
Yeah.
in one, but like, are there ones that you might get amount of credit for that are not the
Necessarily.
traditional, like algebras, geometries?
Not too many anymore. You know, we need to. Yeah, we have a few like statistics, that's a higher end class. There's a financial math, we renamed it, right now, off my head, but not too many. Most students are not this is true, are not wanting to take math in their senior year, so they're trying to get it done in their first 3 years. And then students who are not, passing the SBA have to take bridge to college math their senior year. And so that's funneling all of those possible electives into that class. We have definitely more electives at the, I mean, no student. Did I answer?
Yeah, I think, yes.
Still on.
No, that's good. Yeah, I think it was the question of like, are the math classes being offered ones that are setting up for the foundational knowledge they need in order to be at that 10th grade level?
Yeah, no. How about that?
Okay.
Sure, answer.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so STAR, as you saw, just summary here, there's increase from year to year. Reading STAR scores are higher than math STAR scores at the elementary, but not significantly, and then the reverse is true at the second. An interesting point, I think it could be because the focus on literacy at the elementary is eventually going to pay off in the ways start performing in all areas of their education of the courses. And then summary on the SBA, just in perspective, so Lakewood's ELA SBA scores are approximately 9% lower than the state average. And the Lakewood math SBA scores are approximately 10.5%, points lower than the state average. However, I want to share that this year, our growth was over 3.2% in the state, in the ELA, and the state score was 0.1%. So their scores are relatively stable, and ours had a significant increase. And then for math, the state had a 0.5 increase in scores and at a 1.3% increase in scores. So I think it's kind of theme throughout this is that our students are growing. We still have lots of work to do to get to a level that most of our students are experiencing the ability to take college courses without needing to take remedial courses or have foundation level skill, but definitely a positive trend there. So again, across level, more students had foundational grade level knowledge or better in Lakewood, and more students this year have consistent grade level knowledge than previous years. This rest is summation. You know, it's just a great confirmation of the efforts that teachers and administrators are doing, our students and our families to improve. Any questions? Girls?
Questions?
Thank you for that.
Now, sounds like we're closing the gap a little bit. So,
I think that would be a really great way to sum it up. Yeah.
Promising to see some of those, see the increase and I know we weren't doing cohort, but you can kind of see some of the cohort data too and see that they're continuing to improve year over year.
Yeah, if you're
We've got some
interested.
opportunities to continue, but sorry, go ahead.
If you're interested, you put some forward data. I think that that'd be nice to see and see both sometime. And it's kind of that balance of how long to do a presentation with
Right.
an overview, so you get a good feel of our performance, so I get it for it. But I could sort of comparison.
Yeah, I did like seeing third grade versus third grade and
Yeah.
seeing kind of, because it does again show those improvement trends with some of the different tools that we've been implementing and the teachers have brought forward to
Yeah,
create for literacy and some of the reasons that we talked about, so.
thank you. It's also impossible to do with state data, so we don't have the ability to do cohort data with the state, so it's nice to have that comparison. Because ultimately, I want to be that place where we love state average. But the cohort data would be helpful. Thanks.
Dana, did you have any questions? Sorry. She was
Sorry,
online.
Dan.
No, I didn't have any questions, but I just wanted to reiterate, there's certainly some areas that we need to work on. There's a lot of like good things to celebrate in there. So it's nice to see some of the stuff we're doing that's paying off, and so good work, and I'm sure we'll be putting together some good actions to address some of the areas that we need to.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the adoption of the Lakewood School District Strategic Direction, Vision, Mission, and Motto. Superintendent Murphy.
I'm gonna join, Christina and I are gonna come over here since we're doing it together. This evening, we are excited to share with you kind of the culmination of what we know is kind of a year and a half's worth of work. And so, as just a recap, which I know that you all know, and many people in this room were part of this. Over the last school year, we spent a lot of time coming together as a community to really talk about what matters most in Lakewood schools. And through that, really those community conversations, which included multiple surveys, our meetings that were into our 3 different foundational pillar groups, we were able to create an initial draft, which was brought to you last spring, of really the Lakewood strategic direction for the next 5 years. We also spent time over the summer so members of district staff taking the work that really the sentiments, the thoughts, the feedback, the goals, all the information that was shared about who we are, what we believe in, and who we aspire to be in service to our students. And we took that and kind of distilled it down to being, what would that mean our vision is? What would that mean our mission is? And what would be a potential updated motto that represents kind of ambition and focus for our district. And so we were able to kind of share that with different groups. We also, as you know, did a survey, and we're excited to kind of hear back on kind of the feedback that we received. And again, by the time we got to the feedback, we were probably in iterations 3 or 4 of some of these different documents, which I know you had seen kind of early ones in the summer. And so we're excited to share with you kind of the mission draft, the vision and motto, which received the most positive feedback. And would be bringing tonight to you this suggestion that we would recommend approval of updating our district's vision, mission, and motto, as well as the final adoption of our Lakewood strategic direction to support our work moving forward from the 2025 to 2030. A component which I'll turn over to Christina to speak to is in your packet tonight. You have documentation you saw last spring, which are the 3 foundational pillars, the goals that are comprised under each, and those indicators. As you know, we are working on metrics that are not part of something we'll be bringing here for formal adoption. So there would be a little bit of, I think, flexibility potentially to those, but as we continue to move and evolve, we're going to be wanting to share our progress and have that be something we share at least annually with you, the board, and then have a way to communicate that out with our greater community. So you'll see this one document. You'll also see a draft of how we would be sharing this with the community. And I'll let Christina talk about that, but I just want to note that that is a draft and not something we're seeking direct approval or recommendation of, because we think that we'll have many iterations over time. And so why we want these other pieces to hopefully be something the board would support as moving forward for the next 5 years. This will be a document that will probably switch to change as we have different pictures and different things we may want to highlight. So, Christina.
So our most recently, the survey that we put together was for the mission, vision, and draft and motto for the, we did drafts of the three mission drafts, 2 vision drafts and 2 motto drafts. And the draft for the mission 2 was the one that received the most votes. And that one was in partnership with Families in Our Community, Lakewood School District, creates inclusive, caring environments where every student belongs and is challenged to think critically and build social emotional skills and achieve academic excellence in preparation for life and aspirations beyond graduation. And the vision draft 1 received the most votes. That was a thriving learning community where every student is known, supported, inspired, and prepared to reach their full potential. And the motto that received the most votes was inspiring growth, empowering futures. And so you can see in the draft here, we do have the motto down at the bottom and have included on the front page the mission and the vision. And then throughout the document, the strategic pillars should look familiar. Those are on there, and then we do have a QR code on the back that goes to kind of the draft page of the website that includes the indicators.
I think some pieces that, I mean, I think everyone in this room has had a part in getting to where we're at, as well as I mean, hundreds of people throughout our community. So it's exciting to bring this work today. I think it's exciting to bring this work, and I think it's also exciting to be able to present to you tonight another culmination of this as we prepare to launch in to, you know, bringing this work into action. So, you know, while we've already started that, I mean, there are some things in here that are gonna be continuation and kind of continued growth of things we do, and there are some things in here that have not been elements that we have historically done. So I think that growth and change is exciting, and I think it's a representation of what is being asked for by our students, by our staff, and by our families and community. A couple of things that I'm also excited about is we had I think it's been a while since as a district we've talked about what our vision is and what our mission is. We also found a variety of mottos that were alive and well in different documents throughout time. So there's an opportunity, I think, for you know, some rebranding and to recollect like who we are, what we stand for, and what we are going to work together to achieve for our students. And so I think it's an exciting opportunity to kind of continue to launch into the future together. And so with that, I would recommend adoption of the Lakewood Strategic Direction Plan for 2025 to 2030, which includes updated foundational pillars, goals, indicators, vision, mission, and motto.
Are there any questions regarding the information that was presented tonight?
I'll make a motion for the approval of the adoption of the Lakewood School District Strategic Direction Plan for 2025-2030, which includes updated foundational pillars, goals, indicators, vision, mission, and motto as presented.
A second?
Any additional comments? I just want to make a comment about thank you for all the work that's gone into getting us to this.
It was great.
Yeah. This is an action. I'm sorry. So we have a motion, and all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's passed. Thank you. Yeah. That was definitely, yes, a lot of work that went into that. Yes.
Even though it's not done.
I just want to highlight, call out our cabinet team, our staff members, our student. There's a lot of people in the board, so huge. So thank you for your commitment, and I'm excited for our future. You know, I think we're always excited for the future, but.
And the community,
Yeah.
people that came and feedback and.
Yes, that was a
It's so
very
great.
big community and
Yes.
effort to get us to this point. So,
Absolutely.
thank you. All right, and now we have policy review. First one is Tim Haynes, revised board policy 3241, student discipline first reading.
Everyone. I want a Mariners update.
Yes.
Yes.
Down 10.
Oh, sit down.
Nana had a very switched on, I was very to ask when she was presenting if anyone had that.
Hopefully, well, I'll just pause there. So.
Let me ask what inning.
Eighth, fifth, sixth, seventh.
Fast, James.
Fingers
crossed for one way.
Anything can happen.
Yeah.
So, here to discuss some updates to 3241. That is student discipline. This is a critical update. So I'll provide a summary of changes that, went into effect in July of 2025 of this year. And really good news, just before I begin, is that, a lot of these changes are already current practice. Probably in Lakewood, in Lakewood and probably in a lot of districts. And so, some new language, but not necessarily, changes in practice. So the first thing that I would like to reference is the term discretionary discipline. And the updated policy introduces the term discretionary discipline, which is referring to non-exclusionary responses used to address behaviors that do not pose an immediate threat. And these are, and to keep students in the classroom to minimize exclusion. So these would be tensions, perhaps prohibiting someone from attending an extracurricular activity, or a temporary denial of a classroom privilege in an elementary school that might be not able to access, say, Legos during free time. Before implementing these discretionary discipline, staff are expected to attempt supportive, non-disciplinary interventions, peer mediation, restorative justice practices, reminders on social skills, appropriate behaviors. Clarified definitions of an exclusion versus an in-school suspension. And I think the short version is classroom teachers are the ones that can have enforce an exclusion. And if that exclusion exceeds X amount of days, and then it becomes a classroom, or excuse me, an in-school suspension. And an in-school suspension is administered by an administrator. An administrator does not issue an exclusion. So just some the guidelines is specific to who issues what. The new policy also brings forth the language of the newly adopted protected classes. You might remember I brought 3210 and 5010 earlier this school year. And so specifically ethnicity, homelessness, immigration, or citizenship status, the presence of any sensory, mental, or physical disabilities, neurodivergence. Those words are now incorporated and we have that full range of protected classes. Parental and student engagement. This is partnering with our families when we are issuing, basically when we get to the suspension level. That doesn't mean that we are necessarily agreeing or that we are seeking input, we're partnering. So that we have that collaborative effort with both the student and the student's family. A more significant change perhaps would be what constitutes a long-term suspension. We have very defined behaviors that I guess would warrant a long-term suspension, whereas there used to be some more latitude when we would issue a long-term suspension. And things that we've done here in Lakewood for quite a while is ensuring that the student has access to their education while they are currently serving a suspension. And I think with every revision, there are just more clear guidelines on what that appeal process can look like when we are doing an exclusion at any time. So this was reading number one. Are there any questions that I can address or questions to research for reading two?
Lots of red lines in that last.
Oh, that's the first thing I do. I'm like,
Yes. Are there any?
I guess I have a question and I just don't know if I'm gonna ask it in an appropriate manner. So forgive me if I mess this up, but in the past, I feel like I have heard some concern about keeping kids in the classroom. They're so disruptive day after day after day after day that you can't actually really teach. Do you think this policy changes are helping that or hurting that or not really affecting it and it's just clearer guidelines? Or how are our teachers going to feel about it, I guess?
I have a response that's somewhat related to that question.
Okay.
I think that each year post-COVID, they're seeing fewer extreme behaviors. And so I think that that's a significant, I mean, is that fair? Do you think that like, you know, since COVID, that with each year that there's less disruptive behaviors in the classroom? And I don't mean we the spot.
No, no, yeah, I feel like there's less. I mean, obviously there's still like a few kids.
There are.
But like, it's definitely gone lower than.
And thank you for saying on the spot like
Yeah,
that.
it's fine.
I mean, and so, I think that the policy itself and the policy updates really clearly speak to what can we do to exhaust excluding a student from their learning. And so lots of language that I see over the last several revisions that talk about things that we can do to support a child remaining in the classroom during instructional time. I think that there's also the recognition, I think from the state that, you know, we do have some pretty disruptive behaviors and we need to have some alternatives and some ability to issue those corrective actions and offer those exclusionary practices to keep the learning intact. And I think the exclusion is actually something that allows that is you know, that's teacher control. It allows for opportunities for teachers and administrators to collaborate with an exclusion, that the teacher is expected to call home to provide the parent, you know, the behaviors that are unacceptable. So I completely understand your question, and I think when these are implemented and utilized correctly, there is great value.
I actually will also be curious to see how we improve, hopefully, with our cell phone policy and see if that, we see even more of a drop off of the behaviors. Maybe not at the younger levels, but for sure the older levels.
If it's okay, I want to add one thing that I think is an interesting note, and I feel free to, you know, disagree honestly. I think that we see a lot of, so discipline, yes, we do have elementary students who receive discipline, absolutely. We see, you know, we tend to see more at our kind of secondary level. I think we are though seeing, I see it as compared to years in the past, we are seeing larger numbers of younger kids coming in with highly dysregulated behaviors, right? And so I think is it improving? I think it is, but I think but I also think it's present in ways that it historically was not. And so I think we're seeing and I know that our staff is working really hard. I know our administrator, like our teaching staff, our classified staff, our administrative staff. I know that Lisanne's partnering and Brian's like everybody's partnering. We have got board certified behavior technicians who are coming in, who are providing additional ideas and structures. Yes, with students served through special education, and in some cases, the students who aren't served yet in special education. And so we, I think discipline, absolutely, but I think we're also trying to figure out how to help students learn, like we can respond with a consequence, yes, and that's important. But we're also trying to figure out how to help students relearn positive behaviors. We get to the nexus of what's driving the actions that they're doing and how to help them make other choices. And so I think we're seeing some of these behaviors show up in ways that we haven't historically always seen before.
So it's just like a whole new world, kind of, when it comes to what the kids are coming in with from the get-go.
Yeah, and I would say
At an earlier age.
at an earlier age, I think it's that earlier age component that's a little unique. And again, I'm at a disadvantage because my teaching and like building career was always at the secondary. And so it's really been the last 10 years that I've spent more time connected to like elementary and seeing kind of the continuum of what elementary behavior looks like. But I would say I've seen it increase in terms of, and I'm seeing, let's say, like, I've seen a lot more, and that was even before COVID. That was not, yes, there was a little bit of exponential increase there, but that was even before. We were seeing levels of dysregulation, inability to kind of self-soothe and cope, and some more extreme like physicality than we've historically seen. Yes.
I would say the intensity and frequency and duration of the behaviors are more now and at a much younger level. And we have students coming in who have experienced pretty severe trauma before the age of 5. Which it has grown a lot over the years, and so then they come to school and then they have to be a typical student and they struggle with that, so really trying to focus on how to support them on what changing that behavior, what's causing that behavior, what's triggering it, and then providing them the skills so that they don't have that. But a lot of times when they come to us in kindergarten, they may not have services yet, so they're trying to infuse things before they need to have services, right? I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item, revised board policy 1005, key functions of the board, first grade of Dr. Murphy.
Okay, so, like I shared with you, the good thing about getting your policies up to date is that they're up to date. The bad thing is when the board policy news review comes out and it lists a lot of policies, so we'll see a lot of policies. So, there were 5 that pertain to the board, so I just figured we just go for it and we just take care of all of them. So here we go. The first one is 1005, key functions of a board, as we think, you said before, a lot of red. So a lot of red on this one. I think the key, so again, this is, we had a organization, categorization of how policies are looked at. So this is a discretionary policy, which is the one group that stayed the same. And we recently updated it not too long ago. So this one is really kind of like, what are those key functions of the board? The key updates include changes to section headings and really what is underneath every section of it. What I think is great though, is they actually aligned it to the Washington School Board standards, right? So they kind of organized everything so that there is some continuity between it all. So it brings that alignment there. There's a lot of updates, but I'll entertain any questions if you have them.
I do not have any questions. Dana, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
Thank you. Next item, revised board policy 1210. Annual organizational meeting, first reading.
All right, so this one has been up to date up until our most recent update, and so with that, this is also a discretionary policy. Policy 1210 speaks to the selection of board president and vice president at the first regular meeting at which newly elected board members are seated in election years, and the first meeting in December in non-election years. It also talks about timelines and kind of the election process for the legislative representative and the order of business. So this update identifies the parameters in which newly elected director could assume one of these roles. And then it was also just a management resource update. There's also a slight change to the wording of the title. I'm not sure if I agree with the new wording, but that is what it is. And so they are suggesting the new title be annual organization meeting, as opposed to the annual organizational meeting. So I thought it could be a first and final, but there is actually a little bit of substantive change in terms of which specific board, conditions of which new board members could run for different roles. So I brought it as a first read.
Thank you. Any questions on this one? Thank you. Revised board policy 1630, evaluation of superintendent, first reading.
All right. So this was a really up-to-date policy already. So again, it's a critical policy, which used to be essential. So there is a need that is really tightly aligned with law. And it speaks to the evaluative criteria for the evaluation of a superintendent. Changes to the policy they eliminate the minimum threshold for confidential conferences between the superintendent and the board. And they also kind of include references to RCWs that are pertinent and 8 categories at minimum for the evaluation. And then also a change was kind of noting the superintendent evaluation resources that are available.
Thank you. Any questions regarding this policy? Jana? Questions?
No, sorry, no question.
Thank you. Want to make sure before I move on. If there was something. Okay, next item is revised board policy 1820, board self-assessment, first reading.
Okay, so the last revision for tonight is an update to 1820, which is an important policy that used to be the encouraged group, so that middle group, and we updated that in November of 2023. The update of this draft of the policy includes specification of the self-assessment being an annual process, which again, I think we've had conversations in the past that it didn't used to have to be, but that's some commitment that I know that this board has made. That the performance is assessed in relation to research-based principles of the Washington State School Board standards. An additional clarification about that these results are discussed, and obviously in the manner that the board already does discuss the result of the self-assessment. So what was nice is, I think, as Tim stated with discipline, the updates to this policy reflect current practice with the board, which is always nice.
Yep, that one. Any questions on that one?
I don't have any questions.
Thank you. Last policy on the agenda tonight, new board policy 1821, standards for individual school directors, first reading.
Okay, so in relation to all of these, for the most part, and then this new board policy, was the kind of the policy news, they talked about, they kind of just reorganized some things, and so. I think this new board policy is a reflection of that. They took some things from other policies that they're recommending actually retirement of policy 1810 and procedure 1820, and so. I'll be bringing those next time, and so I think some of the pieces you might see in 1821 don't feel new. They're just kind of regrouped in a different way, and so. While that information lives on and actually will come forward in this policy, we actually will be bringing for the adoption of these by the board, retirement of those other two documents next time. So new board policy 1821, standards for individual school directors. This is deemed as an important policy and was introduced just this October by Washington School Directors Association. And it's obviously part of the 1000 series. It speaks to the commitment of individual board members to annually do that their WASA review as in terms of those individual school director standards. And that then the board collectively uses that as assessment to examine the performance in terms of the major functions. Values and ethical behavior, leadership, communication, professional development, accountability, and commitment to educational equity. I think the kind of neat thing about this is we're having this conversation tonight, and we had a study session just prior in which the board was engaging in just that.
Any questions regarding this first reading?
No question.
All right. Thank you. Now we'll move into public board discussion. Dana, would you like to do anything for this evening's meeting?
I don't have anything. Thank you.
Right. Done.
Well, Aaron kind of already shared big news that football had a win. Wasn't there to see it. It was awful. But I got there before the boys left the locker room to congratulate them, so that was nice. One other thing I just want to touch on that I'm super excited about, and girls, I'm talking to you here. Flag football, new sport for winter, Washington approved, so spread the word. We're gonna have a girls flag football team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Be fun.
Yeah,
All right.
that's all for me.
Thank you.
I
All right.
I'm doing it.
Oh, we have someone doing it?
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
So awesome.
Yeah.
I did have a question about the ledge rep priorities. Are we doing that?
So the due date, yes, the due date was originally last week on Thursday, which I didn't realize, and so Don and I took a look at it and chose the 10 that aligned most closely that we felt with our value or with our legislative priorities. Then they did extend it, but they didn't extend till after everyone we had submitted. So we did submit, but I'm happy to show the 10, but looking at the list, it was one that looked at.
No, we did that before.
Yeah, but
I wasn't worried. I just wanna know if we did it.
Yes, we did do it. Yes,
I didn't hear anything.
yeah, it did get
This
submitted.
was on the fly.
Yes, it did not realize when you made that comment that it would be due before our next board meeting, and we did not have an opportunity.
Yeah, and then yesterday, I also did the logic and accuracy test for the Snohomish County voting, which was kind of interesting, actually, how they zero out the voting, the counters, and then they run a 500 ballots through and count them and test the system.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Did not know.
So I didn't hear what you said at the beginning. You went down and did that? And
I watched
or you-
them.
Oh, gotcha. All right.
Yeah. Watch, yeah, because the servers like air gap, so there's no way to hack the system and all that stuff. It was interesting to go down there and see that.
Is that just open to anybody or did you have to like sign up and.
Well, it was open to all people that were running for election.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's open to the public, you know, they have a little walking area around the counting area. So I'm sure during the ballot counts, you can go up there and, you know, observe.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
Does that stress you out?
All right.
but it was good to see once, I'll tell you that,
Yeah,
yeah, that was good.
I did not know that was a thing to do, but that's great to hear. All right. So I did, last week we did get our legislative top 10 submitted, focused on our legislative priorities. There were a few new ones this year that were brought up. It looked like at least one that definitely discussed regionalization, which we did put in one of our priorities. It was listed in a few that were about fully funding schools, but did also address keeping the regionalization within the immediate district areas to being more equitable, I would
Yeah.
say. And so we did get those based on our legislative our legislative priorities for the district submitted. I did have the opportunity to attend the ECE color run. I did mention I was wearing a very light colored sweater. Lesson learned, do not do that on that floor. But that was a lot of fun. The kids, I think this is the first year I've seen it where they did all the students at once. I think they usually broke it into 2 different grade bands, like with the younger elementary and older. This time I think it was everyone, and it was really fun to see all the kids out there. They just have
amazing how much money they raised. When you
Yeah.
said that today during their report, I was like,
Yeah,
yeah, very impressive.
it's fun for them. I think it's very colorful.
Yeah.
Everyone does, and I'm sure the field might still be colorful, so. And the game Thursday I did get to attend. It was fun to see, or you cheer and football, that was youth night,
Yeah.
that was fun as well, but
I
I,
heard they did great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was a very fun event. They all really enjoyed that, and it was a good game to see. Exciting to see some touchdowns and some celebrations in the stands, so. Yeah, and the band performance and the cheer as well. So, yeah, it's good. But that's all I had. There's nothing else for this evening. Our next regular meeting is November 5th, 2025 at 6 p.m. Our other meetings on October 22nd, 2025. We have a special joint board meeting with Farmington School District Board of Directors. And that will be here at Lakewood. And other meetings, November 5th, 2025 study session at 5 p.m. And our meeting is there. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, this one's at our